back with another episode of the Blue Turf. This is Thad Bell from the Kansas City Soccer Journal. With me, I have Eric Bergrud, CBS Golazo Paramount Plus guest announcer. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Thad?
Not bad. How was that experience doing that for this last game?
It was quite the experience. Well, first of all, calling a game without Nick Vassos was a little unreal, but then moving to a different platform for this game with just a brand new team, not team on the field, but team behind the scenes. It was quite the experience. But a big shout out from me to everybody at Utica City FC for making that all work. Ray Biggs is a pro. It was great announcing with him, and then the technical team there, they pulled out all the stops to make it happen, and then the Comets delivered on the field.
They did, although it looked a little bit iffy at times.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, I think what happened was UCFC decided they were going to come big and fast on the transition game in the first quarter, and of course, what changed everything was an early timeout by Coach Stefan Stokic. I talked to him after the game, and he kind of laughed. He's like, "I bet you appreciated that."
I, I bet you did.
I did.
See, Utica got up at 1 point 4-2 over the Comets, but then it was pretty much all Comets in the third.
What's
And
crazy is that, and I said that on air, that's usually the quarter of doom, and it turned out really well. So they went in a halftime tied 3-2 in the middle of a penalty kill, gave up that fourth goal early, but then they were locked down on defense, and as you said, scored four goals. Can't say enough superlatives about Nacho in this past series, and hat trick there in Utica. He came up big. The other thing that might have been a little subtle, Thad, was Henry Ramirez was not playing early on, and then Stokic dropped him in the lineup. He wound up scoring a goal later, but made a huge difference. Reggett was big. Marquez had 3 assists, I believe, and so there was uh, a lot of kudos that you could spread around that roster.
yeah, look at those stats. Zach had 2 goals, 2 assists. Nacho 3 goals. Rion 3 assists. Vandegrift a goal and assist. Henry Ramirez with a big goal in there and lots of good play.
Yeah, well, and Vandegrift had an open goal on a Wallace score that he whiffed on, and then like the next play later, he followed a pass into the box, and the ricochet just sort of like bounced off him in the goal. But in indoor soccer, they all count. You get credit for anything off you, near you, and he was terrific defensively. Berto was terrific defensively. I thought Debray Holloman had a wonderful game when he was called on defensively too, and they changed their game plan against Kelvin Oliveira. Kelvin Oliveira looked really good in that game one, the MVP of the TST tournament last year, but they shut him down in game two, and UCFC really didn't have any other answers.
Yeah, one of the amazing stats to me, and I've meant to go back and watch it again, and I have not. But according to the stats on the website, Utica had 0 shots on in the fourth quarter. Zero. Like I don't I know they pretty much didn't have a lot, but I don't know if it was zero. But just the Comets just limited their chances to nothing almost.
Yeah, and you could see Oliveira was pressing. They were trying to find any space, and it just wasn't there. And so lights out defense for the Comets, and this team has really gelled this last part of the season. Nacho is a two-way player. Berto and Vandegrift. It's always interesting to see Vandegrift on the score sheet, but the defense first mentality has really paid off for Kansas City, and so they have some confidence heading into this next series. But you go back to that losing streak, Thad, and everything that's changed since the losing streak, or in a Thad Bellism winless streak, right? And then what has changed on the field, and particularly Nacho's role, both as captain, but also moving back defensively. But I think the commitment to defense really picked up as they came out of that streak. And so, yeah, they gave up 5 goals, but Nicolau Neto was solid once again on defense, and the players in front of them, they were throwing their bodies around to block shots, and if they weren't blocking shots, they were absolutely doing clinical marking of players. So just up and down the roster, it was terrific.
Yeah, I gotta agree that defense just I mean they just elevated it, especially in this last game. They've been better since the winless streak ended, but it was just super impressed with this last one. They'll be tested in the next one as well. Uh, but let's see what trying to go back. Uh, What anything else stood out for you from that game?
Well, I would just, I mean, a couple things. That arena, if you ever get a chance to go there, it is something. It's relatively compact, about 4,100 seats. It gets loud in there. It just has a different vibe than any place I've been at. And Comets did not get flustered when they were down early, which I thought was significant. But also, if you look at the beginning of the season, the end of the season, what you're seeing is a team that's confident on the road, which is critical when you go into the playoffs. That middle section is where they started having problems, but I have to think a little bit to the last time they lost on the road. It might have been St. Louis at the end of that streak in the middle. But if you think about some of the wins they've won at San Diego, they've won at Utica, they've won at St. Louis, they've they won at Empire too. So it's not like they've just been winning at home. It's been a good run on the road, with the understanding that this is going to be a really difficult game in Milwaukee Friday night.
And I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but the captain change from Ramon to Nacho, Ramon was all in favor of it. And we've talked about how Nacho uh, has been has helped lead the team in a slightly different way. I feel like Nacho has stepped up his game even more. I mean, he was always a guy who could, knock in the odd goal, but now he's playing at I think another level. And Ramon is back more like the Ramon of a few years ago, who he's been playing better, and it's just like it's lifted both of those players that change.
Well, I mean, I think you've seen that in the defense and midfield, but what I also saw up front is when the other pieces work, this takes a little bit of pressure off your target forwards, and Reggett and Rion Marquez then have options. It's not just them trying to score; they can lay the ball off. And you mentioned Marquez 3 assists. He's a real handful for a lot of defenders in this league to deal with, and if the midfielders can run off of him, that creates opportunities for them. And multiple midfielders took advantage this past game, and the same with Reggett. We know Reggett can score; he can also assist too. And when it starts clicking with guys like Ramon, Leo Acosta, Mikey Lennis, etc., it just kind of spreads the wealth across the lineup.
And then throw in the every once in a while Henry Ramirez goal.
Yeah, and Henry sealed the deal. He had himself quite a game, and it's always good to see him. He's battled through injuries, and when he got cleared for the playoffs, I think that the front office, the coaching staff, used that as an opportunity. Now they have some choices as you get into playoff series. What kind of what kind of lineup do we want to have? What kind of options do we want to have in the midfield? And again, they took advantage of it in Utica.
They did. That was a just overall a very impressive performance, especially the second half. But just overall, very impressive performance to go in there and take that victory and not have to go to a third game, a mini game, whatever. What's the official term now?
The knockout game.
Yeah, I think I'm still gonna call it a mini game.
You wouldn't be alone. I'm an official broadcaster of the Comets and the MASL, so I do call it the knockout game. So there you go.
Yeah, you're bound by rules. I am not,
There you are.
other than some rules of decorum, which even those are rare. Speaking of rare issues of decorum, Milwaukee.
Yeah, I already heard my phone started lighting up immediately after the game. So I think Milwaukee's been looking forward to this. If you recall, the Comets typically play Milwaukee 6 games in a regular season. This year it was only one. It happened to be the home opener, and the Comets fairly easily beat Milwaukee 7-3. There's a few caveats. Milwaukee had played a tough game in St. Louis the night before, et cetera, et cetera. But Kansas City was pretty dominant. Milwaukee struggled a bit at the end of the season, dropping down to fourth, but they have so much confidence beating Monterey in Monterey and basically taking out the undefeated team that I think they're eager to see Kansas City at home. It's going to be a battle on the field, but it's also worth noting the off the field, let's call it antics or issues between these two. Maybe more so the fan base is that, and not so much the players, but people absolutely want to make this a Derek Huffman versus Nicolau Neto thing, and we'll likely talk about it on Monday's broadcast. But the whole thing about the signs in Milwaukee and they're feeling like they got um, the bad deal from the schedulers this year, only getting one game against Kansas City, and there were no games in Milwaukee. So I think that those fans are going to be amped up because they haven't had a chance to boo Kansas City all year except at their screens. So I would expect a loud crowd there at the UWM Panther Arena, but I'd also expect a confident Kansas City team going in to battle with them. Milwaukee does have injuries, so Marcio Leite is out for the season. Breno Oliveira is out. Ian Bennett is listed as probable, although I think that it could be interesting to see how he's used in this series. I think it may depend. And here's what I mean. If Milwaukee wins game one, it would not shock me if he doesn't play game two and is held for a potential knockout game. But he is expected to play. Max Ferdinand has been out. He's probable. Alex Sanchez probable, and Ben Raymond probable. So I would expect to see all four of them at least for game one.
Yeah, that would definitely make a difference. Comets have been relatively lucky for injuries lately. I mean, there's always knocks and stuff like that, but my understanding is Ray Lee is questionable for Friday, and
He came
uh,
off, and you don't normally see him come off the field, and he was. I think it's safe to say after the game, and then at the airport Tuesday morning, he was not walking normally. So I know that he was going to get some treatment, and then see what they see. But he's been a battler on defense, and they absolutely want him if he's able to make it a go.
oh yeah, I think if he's questionable on Friday, he's going to probably be higher level of questionable to probable on Monday, though, I would say.
Yep, I think that's fair.
But you know those guys are going to want to play no matter what. If a little pain is manageable, they will go.
Yeah, and then in terms of matchups, things to look at, definitely goalkeeper battle because Willie B really, I don't want to say he saved Milwaukee, but he came up big in that series. And so Willie B versus Neto is definitely one you're going to want to take a look at. Up front, it's always a question if IB's not 100% where the goal is going to come from. And so Ricardinho, other people will need to step up, and and then defensively, the matchups are going to be something I look at. If we know Leite's out, so who's going to get the primary responsibility on Marquez, who's going to get the primary responsibility on Rega. It's going to be interesting to see how Coach Oliveira approaches Kansas City, having had more time for his team to rest than Kansas City has.
Yeah, they've had more time to rest, and the Comets will be the unfortunate beneficiaries of 2 nights of travel, where the Wave will only have really the one, because Comets will travel up for the game on Friday and then travel back for the game on Monday, where the Wave only have to make that one travel. They've been rested. So,
No, and I get that, but that's part of the deal with the playoffs. The good news is there's an extra day off. It's not like you're playing Saturday and Monday. It's Friday, fly back on Saturday, and give your body a little bit of rest. But they'll be amped up and ready to go on Monday. Another big crowd is expected. The I've heard this so many times this season that the team feeds off the energy at Cable Dahmer Arena, and there are a lot of different scenarios. There's the scenario where the Comets would have to win both game 2 and game 3. There's the scenario where they win in Milwaukee, and then the pressure's on the Wave coming down here. A lot of things could happen, but there's also a scenario which few people might remember a couple years ago when the Comets played Dallas and won game 1 down there, came back for game 2. Benji Monreal had his worldy goal and everybody got excited, but the Comets actually lost that game 2 and needed the knockout game to advance. And so a lot of things can happen. And as the Comets know, once you get into that knockout game, anything's possible. They won a championship in Baltimore in a knockout game. And they also experienced the other side. The last time they hosted a semifinal game at Cable Dahmer Arena was the COVID year against the then Ontario Fury. They lost game 1. They won game 2 in overtime. They were leading in the knockout game, and then the legs died. And I think that lesson is there. So don't be surprised if it goes to a knockout game, Thad, that you will see some players subbed in, possibly for both teams, some fresh legs that come in. Just nobody wants to get beat just because their team's out of gas.
no, that's very true. I know I don't know who they took, but I know they took at least one extra player to Utica
They did. They
to
did.
just in case that same scenario.
Who by the way, was warming up. Utica is really interesting because they have the arena, that's the Adirondack Bank Center, and then the practice facility is right next door. And so there's 3 different, I guess for lack of a better word, you could call them rinks. And on Monday, 2 of them were set up for ice for a couple different reasons. The women's world championships were there in town. And then the Utica Comets, which is the AHL hockey team there, was practicing. But then the third field, which is the UCFC practice field, also served as a warm-up place in case the knockout game was there. And I was there a few times on Monday. So the Comets trained there at 10 o'clock in the morning, kind of a light workout, but we did Ray Biggs and I did a post-game show live on MASL Monday, and we shot it from the field, the practice field. After we got done, Nacho and Coach Stokic were interviewed. It's a great facility, and if you were trying to recruit a player based on the facilities, I love the world famous Kansas City Soccer Dome. This is just a unique setup in that the practice facility is right next door to the arena, which is it's different than in most cities in the MASL.
Just out of curiosity, who extra players did they take?
They've been carrying 3 goalies, so they had 3 goalies there in town, and then Lalo was the other field player. And so it'll be when you're on the road, you have to make choices. When you're at home, yeah, you could get a little bit more creative. Is so if you're walking into Cable Dahmer Arena, Thad, on Monday, you can pretty much watch to see who warms up game 1. I bet you there'll be more than 16 players there on the turf. And then you could probably do some math in your head um, who's probably staying in game gear as opposed to who's a healthy scratch for the day.
Well, yeah, teams at home often have a couple extra players warming up, if nothing else, if not everybody that's available. I've seen them have a lot of people warm up just to kind of get them the experience of being out there for the game warm up when they're still a rookie.
Right. Right. So there are options galore for a potential knockout game. I know that the Comets fans hope it doesn't come to it, but we'll see. It's going to be a different experience for Kansas City. They started at home this past series, now starting on the road. Theoretically, that's where you want to be. Just what we found already in the MASL playoffs, uh, we've seen a split. We've seen teams that have lost on the road come back and win at home. We've seen teams that have won on the road come back and lose at home. There's not necessarily any rhyme or reason here, but it should be a really good battle in this series. And can you imagine what the bragging rights are going to be like? I mean,
Oh,
it's sometimes extremely painful watching the back and forth banter between Milwaukee and Kansas City fans. And I imagine that after this series is over, there's going to be a lot of crowing and the other side hiding from their social media profiles.
yeah, I'm always surprised. I mean, Milwaukee's a team I never disliked or a city I never disliked. I mean, they obviously have some fans that go a little over the top, as does Kansas City. And really, my only dislike for Milwaukee has ever been just a player or two who I don't think are my favorites. But
Yeah, I had a good conversation with Wave color analyst Art Kramer this week, and we were chatting about the rivalry, and I think he's with you. He's like, the fans have been doing whatever it is amongst themselves, but there's respect on the field for both teams. It's a healthy rivalry in terms of that you're going to get a good game or a great game every time you battle against that other team, and so I don't anticipate a bunch of antics on the field. And what we saw with Utica was it was mutual respect at the end of that series.
well, playoff games are also not the time to have too many stupid antics on the field because anything stupid can cost your team too dearly at that point.
Yep, that is absolutely a fact. What I can't guarantee for you is antics or lack of antics in the other series because eh, with Chihuahua and San Diego, this is the third year in a row they have played each other in the playoffs. San Diego knocked them out 2 years ago. Chihuahua won the knockout game in San Diego to take them out last year. They beat them in San Diego earlier this year. Chihuahua believes they can take out San Diego, but San Diego is healthy again, and that should be really interesting, not just for the battle on the field, but San Diego's had quite a year with, let's call it, extracurricular stuff. And so it'll be interesting to see if that comes into play in this series.
Uh, yeah, just let's call it extracurricular stuff. That's probably doing it pretty lightly there. Uh, they don't like losing, and they definitely show it when that happens.
Well,
It's
the pressure's on them. Is Chihuahua is the defending champs. Chihuahua has beaten them multiple times in a row. I think the pressure is on San Diego, but San Diego is a confident team. I think it will be telling if they could go into. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon. If they could go into Corner Sport Arena with a win, they would think that they're on the track to the championship.
yeah, I it's there's not going to be any easy teams left to play though. The winner coming out of Kansas City and Milwaukee. Milwaukee again, kudos to them. They went to Monterey and took that win against a much higher record team. And Kansas City has taken out San Diego a couple times already this year, and I don't think they're afraid of Chihuahua at this point. So it's all four teams I almost say coin flip between all four of them.
Yeah. So no, that's going to be interesting. And then the timing of the finals, we're at that time of the season where the arena availability becomes an issue. And so for Kansas City, they've had to work around a few challenges at Cable Dom Arena, and that's resulted in a couple Monday games. The the finals, there are potentially some limitations on the other teams in terms of their arena availability, both in Chihuahua and San Diego. So it's going to be interesting to see what might be possible for Kansas City as well. I think that we're going to have some interesting news about how to watch and listen to this game on Monday. So stay tuned for that. And then if Kansas City gets to the finals, we'll see what's possible. But I think they had a great experience on Golazo this past Monday, and anything that the Comets can do and the league can do to expose this team to new audiences is a good thing.
So are you hinting around that the Comets and Milwaukee game on Monday will be back on Golazo?
I'm not hinting at everything. I'm saying stay tuned, and you'll see what's possible in terms of and notice what I said, where it will air and how you can listen to it. So sit tight, stay tuned, and the Comets will have an announcement when they're ready to announce.
Okay, I'm not going to try to put you on the spot any further there, Eric.
Well, I'm not going to let you put me on the spot, Bad. So you can keep trying.
It'd be a little interesting spar there. All right, but I'm going to leave you alone. It was good to have the exposure on CBS Golazo the other day. It was interesting to hear the going back to the CBS Golazo people at halftime talking about the game like they knew something about it. But that was still appreciated that they, again, any exposure is good because indoor soccer is a entertaining sport.
You know, it absolutely is, and I think that this is a challenge for this league trying to get exposure. It's very different than the MISL of the 1980s. It's a different media landscape. It's also a more crowded landscape. And so trying to figure out where do you want to go. I think that the move from YouTube to Twitch was predicated on how can we get new viewers and younger viewers to take a look at indoor soccer. That's very different than how do we get soccer fans to take a look at indoor soccer, which was the thought process for the two games that have been on Golazo. Is this is a 24/7 soccer channel, so if you're going to be at a place where soccer fans are, go to where they are. But there are challenges with scheduling everything in arena availability. Trying to align that with broadcast availability is a challenge, and one of the blessings of Twitch is you have theoretically unlimited space, right? So you could have a 2 a.m. game and they could air it live. There's no problem with that. Not that I advocate playing at 2 a.m. And so as you look at other options, you have to see if the stars align in terms of when you can play and when it can be broadcast.
Starting a game after midnight reminds me of back on like a Friday night league at All American Indoor Sports
There you go. There you go. So
or the Kansas City Soccer Dome, I should
sure,
say.
world famous Kansas City indoors. Kansas City
Absolutely.
Soccer Dome. Yep.
I
I
mean,
got one of those on air. I felt really good about myself. I mentioned the world famous Kansas City Soccer Dome, and I don't get paid any extra for doing it. It's just something I enjoy doing.
hey, Bud, I think you deserve to give Eric a little money, or our podcast a little bit of money every time we say the world famous Kansas City Soccer Dome.
Right.
All right, Eric. I appreciate the time. Is any last words you want to throw out there? Anything I
Well,
forgot to bring
be
up?
a big watch party Friday night. Paul and Jax once again in Northtown. I'll be there. Looking forward to seeing Comets fans. Hoping for two successful watch parties in a row, and then Monday night Once again, 6:30 at Cable Dom Arena. It will be a battle because yeah, as Kansas City fans know, you don't get to the final every year. And for Milwaukee, it's been a little bit longer than they thought it was going to be. So I expect everything to be on edge that night.
And we will know the opponent of the winner at that point because
We will.
Sockers in Chihuahua play tonight, Thursday night, and then the follow up game is on Sunday evening. So with Comets in Milwaukee on Friday night and Monday night, we will have the answers to who's playing in the final after that game.
That is right.
I appreciate everybody listening. Appreciate Eric and his time and his insight and knowledge, and we are out.